Hey, ladies, welcome to The Power of the Ask, the podcast where we ditch the waiting and embrace the asking for what we truly deserve.
Welcome to The Power of the Ask.
Hey, welcome to The Power of the Ask podcast, which helps you get what you need financially and personally. We are so glad you're here today. My name is Lisa Zeiderman. I am managing partner at Miller Zeiderman, and I'm one of the co-hosts with my dear friend, Precious Williams. Hi, Precious.
And you heard our queen. My name is Precious Williams. I'm the Killer Pitch Master and the CEO of the Perfect Pitch Group. So welcome back. This week, we're excited to introduce you to our queen, Asia Evans. And let me introduce a little about Asia Evans, whet your appetite a bit. Asia Evans is a board-certified therapist, speaker, and writer who specializes in financial therapy and has over a decade of experience in mental health. Inspired by her financial awakening, she focuses on breaking the taboo around money and emotions, creating a safe, judgment-free space for clients. Asia is the president-elect, did y'all hear that? President-elect of the Financial Therapy Association and author of Feel Good Finance. Ooh, that sounds so good. Which was released this past December. Passionate about helping people live their best lives while understanding their financial behaviors, Asia also enjoys exploring new eateries. She's a foodie with her 2 young children in her free time. We're so happy to have you with us today, Asia. To kick us off, tell us a little bit about yourself that we haven't said yet.
Well, I feel like whenever this happens, I have the desire to be like, when you're in those group settings and they're like, tell us a secret that no one would ever know about you. So that's where my mind went when you just said that. So I'm going to tell you a secret that nobody knows about me. But first, I just want to thank both of you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to dive in and just talk about a topic that I feel like the ladies are not talking enough about. So I'm really excited to dive in. But my little secret is that I have to sleep with socks on. Yep. I am not a barefoot queen in the bedroom. I'm like, ooh, I like a toesy warm toe. And I sleep with my socks on. And people are like, what do you do? I pack them in my bag when I go away. It is part of the packing list always. So yeah, I sleep with my socks on. I am a clinically trained therapist. I love talking about money and emotions. I'm so proud of my book, Feel Good Finance, that's out. And I'm just really happy to be here.
I love that. Okay. I have to say sometimes I sleep with my socks on, but only when we haven't have our heat working or something. So otherwise those socks are off. All right. So Asia, your journey into financial therapy was sparked by your financial awakening. Can you share more about what that financial awakening is or was and how it shaped your career?
Yeah, so I would say my financial awakening definitely just put a huge pivot into my career. So I have been a therapist at this point for almost 15 years. I've been working in mental health for a very long time. Love mental health. I've worked in all different types of setting, pretty much almost anything that you can think about when it comes to mental health. I have been in that kind of capacity throughout my career. And my financial awakening really came when I was in my mid 20s, living in New York City, feeling so excited about my what I defined as a high paying job at the time. And if you read the book, it literally is $60,000. $60,000 to me was a lot of money. I didn't have any kids. I did have student loan, but it was just me. And I was like, that's plenty of money. And what I quickly learned is that when you are in New York, when you are going to brunch, trying to get your nails done, getting your hair done, paying for a car, which I was, paying rent, paying bills, all of it, and trying to live your best life, that money goes quick. That money goes quick. And I did not understand why I couldn't keep up with some of my friends who had been working longer than I had, who were in their fields where, there is a little bit more money than in mental health. And I just couldn't understand why I felt bad about it. And that was the beginning of my awakening to understand, hey, just because I can't afford something, why does it feel like I feel bad about myself? And that's when I began to connect the two and really dive into financial therapy and dive into what it could offer and how I could offer it to my clients. So it really made it was a huge pivot in my career. I had no idea I would be able to write a book. I wrote a book. I am now the president of the FTA now that we're into 2025. So it really just changed my whole outlook on my career, what was possible, and then also how I deal with my own money emotions.
Quinn, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And as a board certified therapist specializing in financial therapy, what are some of the most common challenges that your clients face regarding money and emotions, especially over the last 5 years? Has there been a
Yeah.
change?
Yeah, I mean, over the last 5 years, 100%, there has been a change. There's been a huge change in how we talk about money. I feel like we are a lot more open to these conversations. We're getting a lot more information about the importance of negotiating, the importance of talking about salaries or talking about your money to your friends and your loved ones. But the things that I see the most that come into my office are people who are avoiding their money. So it does not matter how much money you make. I think there's a misconception that when we are talking about money in these types of ways, that people don't have any or that they don't have enough, and that is uncomfortable. There are a lot of people who are making a lot of money who are avoiding their money. And that's really a major problem, especially when we start talking about women, especially when we start talking about pay gaps and what happens with life expectancy gaps, right? Women tend to outlive men. And if you're in a heterosexual marriage, it's kind of important for you to know where the money is, what to do with it, and how to navigate it. So, money avoidance is definitely on the top of the list, overspending, of course. And then sometimes it's, hey, how do I navigate my family dynamics with money? What if I'm making more? What if there are expectations of me in the financial realm? How do I handle that and how do I navigate it?
Asia, you've made it your mission to help people break the taboo of discussing money and emotions. Why do you think this taboo exists? And what is the taboo exactly? And then how do we overcome it?
Yeah. So I would say first, the taboo exists because this is like an entrenched in culture and society issue. It has been really taboo to, share how much money you have. There was a time in the world where it's like you didn't want to be too braggy. You wanted to stay humble. You didn't want to show off where you were or how well you were doing. It was frowned upon. And times have a little bit changed where people are a little bit more flashier with what they have or what they can afford. And now, especially with social media, you see it, but the thing is that we don't always know how people got to that place. We don't always
Mm.
know what is allowing them to look a certain way. For some people, you could be buried in a mountain of debt, but looking like $1 million to a place where people assume that you are doing really well financially. And that can be really complex for people. So I think the narratives of money being taboo and secret and private, don't tell anyone, has really been perpetuated by our family cultures, our societal culture, and just how we think about money in general. And then what do we do about it? I mean, exactly what we're doing here. You get loud, you get prouder about what's going on with your finances. Now, for some people, that does not mean I do not want you standing on your soapbox yelling to everybody, hey, this is my salary. This is what I paid for something. However, it can start with a trusted relationship, with a friendship, or with a colleague when you're like, hey, I'm really thinking about getting a new job. What's the market rate? That's going to be really important. And you would have no idea and potentially be at the end of like the lower end of a scale of pay if you didn't know to start asking some questions around money, if you were feeling too shy. So, what I really encourage people to do is to ask a friend, a colleague, people that they feel comfortable with and trust, hey, do you mind if we talk about money? Get some consent. And if they're like, yeah, I would love to talk about it, then you can dive in because a lot of us want to talk about it. There's so much mystery behind it. And I want people to pull back the curtain and say, yeah, actually, let's talk about money. Now, my friends definitely know. They're like, Asia's definitely going to talk about money. I'm like, great, I am.
I'm so glad that you said that. I feel like over the last few years, the world has gotten a lot colder, a lot colder. We have people that are losing their jobs or their businesses aren't making as much or the math isn't mathing. And so there are people who are flashy and then there's some people who are retreating and don't want to talk about anything. So you emphasize all about creating a safe, judgment-free space for your work. How do you ensure with what people are going through right now that they feel comfortable talking to you about their financial challenges?
Yeah. So, one thing first I would say is like, I am clearly out there in the world. Like, I am a financial therapist. So you kind of know what you're getting yourself into when you're stepping through my door to come literally sit on my couch and have a conversation with me. So that's very helpful. But I also think it's relatability. I don't mind sharing a little bit about myself or my story and having people understand that you are not alone. It may not be me, but there is somebody here who has navigated this in some way, shape, or form. We're just not talking about it. Things that help me, of course, are confidentiality, right? I'm legally bound not to be sharing this with anybody else. And I don't want to, because what I want to do is really um, get rid of shame, break up shame, really help people step out of that isolation that shame creates to feel better and more empowered about their money and talking about it. So, those few things kind of really help me create a judgment free space and also let people know that they are not the only ones. And sometimes some of the clients that I see who have sat in the same position that they've been in are going through something similar.
Mhm.
Asia, you're the president elect of the Financial Therapy Association. Now, I'm going to ask you, first of all, to tell me what is this association? Where is it located? What does it do? And then, how has this role shaped your approach to financial therapy? And what changes do you hope to see overall in the industry itself?
Yeah, so I can really accredit a lot of where I'm at as a financial therapist to the FTA. So, the Financial Therapy Association is a national association that brings together people who are really trying to focus on the connection between money and emotions, to really dive into your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and your relationship with money to be able to live your best life, to put yourself in a position where you are stewarding your wealth in a way that feels really good to you and healthy, as well as making sure that you're leaving room for understanding that every human has baggage. We all have experiences that have been difficult. And how do we make sure that you are coping with some of the stuff that you carry every day in a way that does not interrupt your money as much, right? So the FTA really is focused on doing research. We have a journal of financial therapy, making sure that we're getting evidence-based practices out there. So I owe a lot of, where I'm at today and my understanding of financial therapy to the community of people, members, and providers who really poured into me when I was just learning about financial therapy in general. So it's national. We invite people who are really trying to dive into this. So it is made up of people who are interested, of course, but there are therapists where I'm coming from on the mental health side. There are financial professionals who are CFPs or in banking or CFAs and financial advisors. So it really is the coming together of two fields that I feel like have been thought of as there's no connection there, right? Like there's that, antiquated traditional money advice that says money is an emotional. I'm like, well, we couldn't be more wrong about that. And if you talk to a financial professional, I know what my clients are saying, but if you talk to somebody who's solely supposed to be just dealing with the numbers, they'll tell you that the emotions are coming up in their meetings, in their client meetings, knowing that how do you prepare to make sure your kid's okay? How do you make sure that you're prepped for um things that could happen, estate planning, all of that is very emotional. So to me, you cannot separate the two. And that's what the FTA is doing is we're bringing together people to have these kinds of conversations and support each other, whether that means a referral or just somewhere to be like, hey, I did this. Like, what do you think about that? And bounce ideas off each other.
That's also the power of the ass right there too. Queen Asia, I just want to take a pause for the cause because I don't think anybody knows you and I were in the crew together.
Yes.
We were in the same cohort in the crew, and I just want to say how proud I am of you. The things that we talked about in the crew program, winning the Fearless Fund grant, and to see you now, I just have to take a pause and say, congratulations. I mean, you wrote a book called What? Feel Good Finance. I'm like, you can really feel good about your finances? You can
Yes.
feel good. And that's why I love the title alone. And it was just released this December. So what got the what inspired you to write this book? Write this book at that time? And then what do you hope that your readers or organizations who will purchase this book, what do you hope that they'll take away from it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the story that I shared with you about my own financial awakening really was the catalyst to me realizing how much people needed to have access to understand their relationship with money. So, Feel Good Finance is less about financial education and more about understanding your unique relationship with money. It's about unpacking the historical context of your life and how that has influenced your own personal context, how that has impacted your family, and then the way that you think and believe around money. So, my book really is just dissecting for people, hey, why do I keep doing that? What's coming up for me? Why do I feel this way when this certain money thing comes up in my life? I want to understand myself better. And that's what Feel Good Finance is doing. It's taking people on a journey of untangling their relationship with money so that when you get paid, when you get that money, when you're feeling great about leveling up in your career, that you know exactly what to do with your money because you know what your goals are and you know where you're rooted in your values. So that's really what Feel Good Finance is about, and is really just trying to tell people like, hey, I just want you to be intentional with your money. And sometimes you need to look at your emotional state to then be intentional about your money.
It's interesting. I think that basically, no matter how little or how much money you have, there is still so much anxiety um, associated with money. Do I have enough to retire? Do I have enough, if there's going to be an emergency? Do I have enough if I'm going to get sick? Do I have enough to, cover the bills for my children? Do all of these different things, right? To me, there is so much anxiety about money per se. And I think it's so interesting that you are integrating mental health and financial planning together.
Yeah.
What are the strategies that you are helping your clients use to align their financial goals with their emotional well-being? How do you get them to frankly, I want to know this. How do you get them to feel more relaxed about their financial situation? That's really what I want to know.
Yeah, so I can kind of walk you through what it looks like. When I'm working with someone. So when I first start seeing somebody, a lot of what we're doing in the beginning of the sessions are historical information. It's, hey, what was your first money memory? When did you get your first job? What has money represented to you? What are your money beliefs? Like, literally, walk me through your whole life up until now around money. Did you go to college? Did you not? Trade school? Who paid for it? How was money talked about in your life? All of that. And during that time, what I'm really trying to do is pick out patterns, is to pick out, hey, oh, okay, mom was doing that. Okay, noted. Dad talked about it this way. Grandma or auntie brought this up to you. You went through that experience. And what we do after we kind of like, I always say downloaded the information to me, is then we can talk about what's happening now and what their goals are now and how those patterns or those cycles may be helping their goals or hindering their goals. So, I am not going to be doing any of the financial planning in terms of moving money, right? I am on the mental health, emotional side of it. I'm not touching your money like that. We're going to look at it definitely. You're going to tell me about it 100%. I want to know, hey, how much do you make? What do your expenses look like? How much are you, dream big, right? What do your goals look like? How much do you want to spend on vacations a year? How much do you want in retirement? Do you want to pay for your kids' college? All of that, so that I'm helping my clients be prepared to then have the meeting with a certified financial planner and say, hey, these are my goals. And I know them because I was talking to Asia for the last 6 months and really diving into myself about what was important to me. So, we don't really think about doing that kind of in depth work when it comes to money. To say, it's really, really important to me that I'm able to take care of my mom who's sick, or I really want to be able to set up a special needs trust for my cousin who may have different needs or abilities in their future. I want to be able to do that. And this means that I need to do what? And a lot of times, what I hear all the time from my clients is that sometimes they just don't know what they want, and I'm going to really really encourage your audience to really think, what do I want? What does my dream life look like? And then from there, we can kind of dive into what's possible, what's not possible, what's realistic, and go from there. So, a lot of it is diving into the roots and the money beliefs and understanding what has stopped you or gotten in the way or been a barrier, as well as what has helped you propel you to meet your goals.
Ladies, are you ready to take control of your future? Do you dream of financial stability, freedom, and a life that truly deserves you?
For over 20 years, Savvy Ladies has empowered women from all walks of life to make smart financial choices, achieve our goals, and build a brighter future.
We built Savvy Ladies as a community of women supporting women. We offer free financial educational programs, a trusted helpline, and guidance and advice from America's top financial professionals.
You can access the financial helpline at savvyladies.org or where you get your apps under Savvy Ladies. Savvy Ladies equips you with the knowledge, confidence, and support you need to thrive. So don't wait. Join Savvy Ladies today and start building your financial confidence and well-being now.
I'm kind of blown away right now. I am blown away by you. And I'm blown away with, your practice. And you haven't been in the mental health industry for over a decade. I want to share something because I really love to know your thoughts. My mother and I are developing a relationship with each other, and it's been 30 plus years of fits and starts between
Mhm.
us, just. And so as we were talking on the phone, we're just having a good conversation, we're laughing, kikiing. And my mother said something to me that blew me away. Two things. The first one was, I should have spent more time focusing on you. You're the one who knows how to make it out of any situation. And because I had such animosity towards your father, I couldn't see past that. And yet you're the one who can stand on your own 2 feet and get out of situations or find a way or make one. The second thing she said to me was, if she receives this, amount of money, she wanted to make sure that she sent some to me. And in that moment, I didn't know what else to say other than, Mom, I'm not asking for money. Whatever you want to do is fine with you. And this is a real situation. I said, I'm not asking you for anything. Take care of yourself. And she said, I owe you because I didn't take care of you. And I said, let's park this in the parking lot. We'll talk about this another time. I have to go and have a conversation with a woman in Chicago who might want to hire me for a speaking engagement. So I got off the phone, and it was very powerful because my mother and I both suffer from a mental dis-ease that is documented. I felt no pain and no anger. And what I took more from that conversation was she saw me as someone who will make it regardless. What I wanted to say to her was, I didn't have a choice.
Mm.
But I did tell her, I'm your child. And you taught me some things even if you didn't think you taught me. So in that story, there's an intersection of like money and emotions and mental health and also maturity.
Yes.
What did you hear in that scenario? And is that something that comes up with children and parents and fractured relationships and wanting to come back to each other? Forgiveness is already off the table. We forgive. But now there's other parts now of the reconciliation and money and emotions and mental health.
Yeah. I mean, what, and thank you for being so honest about what you're going through and what it looks like to potentially come from a fractured relationship and start and stop and then try to heal from it even through that, right? Even though she's like, I could have been better. I may not have known how to be better, and I'm worried I didn't teach you anything, but you're like, but you did. Whether I wanted that lesson or not, you taught me. And what I hear when you share that is that for you, the money, you may not need the money, right? You're like, "Mom, it's okay. Like, you take care of yourself. You do what you need to do." But for her, that might be her healing. That
Mhm.
might be her way of, "How can I contribute to this woman who doesn't need me, but I know that it is important to have contributed in some way." And can she hear that even though she may not have felt like she contributed to you and growing up into the woman that you are now, doing this small gesture of giving money feels to her like a contribution, even if you don't need it. So that I hear that your mom is looking for her own healing, even though you may not need it. And that is what the two of you are going to be navigating consistently because it's not about forgiveness. And I agree
Yeah,
with
we
your
we
point.
we we
It's not
passed that
that.
thing.
Right. And I think a lot of people assume that if you forgive, it means everything is healed. No, 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 no. You're trying to foster a new relationship with
Yes.
who you are today, not I was a child and you were a parent and you were an adult and I was a kid. Nope, nope. We're talking about, do you like who I am as an adult? Do I like who you are as an adult? Can we come together as two adults, knowing that we've gone through so much and healed together and want to spend time together? And that is hard stuff, right? Those are the family dynamics that do come up in my office and very frequently because I see majority people of color, majority women who are talking about what it feels like to make more than their parents, what it feels like to make
Woo!
more than both parents, what it feels like to potentially
Almost
double
if
that.
not all the family.
Correct, and there's some survival guilt in that. There is, "Hey, I don't connect in the same way that I used to my community because my life looks so different now, and it's so full, and I'm so grateful, but it is different." And I think people really struggle when we don't feel like we completely fit in communities that were everything to us. And that's all we want as humans. We wanna feel seen, we wanna be a part of the community, but what happens when your life looks so drastically different on either sides of the spectrum, right?
Right.
And and that's what we're diving into, and very often family dynamics come up in that, in really beautiful ways and very, ugly ways that don't feel good for people as well.
Thank you so much. I wanted to just have a like a real like a instance where because I want them to read Feel Good Finance, but also to understand that we can talk over issues, but a real situation. And look how beautifully you were able to articulate all of that through in a conversation that I'm still like, oh, we did that. So thank you, my queen.
Yeah. In the book, I use myself and like my actual clients as examples. So when you are walking yourself through the book, these are not people I made up. Like they may have a different name, but
Right.
these are real people. And there's a whole chapter about family dynamics and what comes up with expectations and what do you want. And it's all in there because these are real life examples.
So I'm going to move on to a topic that I'm not so crazy about. I'm going to say that. Okay. It's not my favorite topic. So, and there's a new name for it. So I'm going to use the old name and then I'm going to give the new name because I think I like the new name that I'm starting to hear much better, which is this balance. That's the part I don't like, balancing your career and your family life. Okay. Now,
Mm.
so work life balance. Okay. Not a term I find endearing. And maybe because I'm very entrepreneurial, right? And it's not my thing. But I do think that there's something called workplace harmony now, and I am really liking that word workplace
I did too.
harmony or that phrase workplace harmony. So I'm going to say, how do you create workplace harmony, especially in a demanding and an emotionally involved field while you're taking care of your kids and enjoying your life and practicing and writing your book and doing all the things you do? How do you do that workplace harmony?
Yeah.
And notice I didn't use balance.
I have so much to say about this because right now in my life there it is not balanced, right? When you hear the word balance to your point, Lisa, I'm sure you're thinking, well, if I work 40 hours a week, does that mean that I have 40 hours of like chill time, relaxation with my family, all that? Absolutely not. And maybe that is because I also have an entrepreneurial spirit and I have big goals that really feed me that I want to accomplish that feel really important to me. So the harmony comes in full-time daycare and childcare. So early care and aftercare for my daughter who's in school. My son has full-time child daycare. My partner understands that there are going to be times where I have something to do later in the evening. I had a book event, so I didn't do bedtime. I didn't even come home. They were sleeping by the time I got home. And understanding that when I'm able to accomplish these things, I mean, there's a lovely financial benefit that will come, right, to the family because of this work that I'm doing. It's not happening yet, but I'm hoping, you know? Um, but there's also like how I feel. And when I wanted to become a mother, I really did not want to get lost in motherhood. And for some people, that is the goal for them. And they love that. And I love that for them. But that is not my goal. My goal was also to be fierce and to be really strong in work, right? Like you can be a fierce mama and I'm here for that, but I wanted to also be a fierce professional and I wanted both. So sometimes that means that I am missing bedtime and sometimes that means that I am putting off work and I'm like, oh, I'll figure that out at, at another time because right now I really want to be present. And honestly, whenever I talk to any of my mom friends currently, we're all fighting the same fight in different ways, right? That it is not a work life balance. And this is also for moms who are working in the home, right? Like everyone feels exhausted. My kids are 5 and 3. Like there's no balance in that at all. There's no balance. And understanding that, hey, I might not be able to show up to everything, but they're also going to have a beautiful role model of a mother who said, hey, I don't know the first thing about writing a book, but I'm going to figure out how to write a book when you were 1 and 3. I think about that now. I'm like, wow, what a badass. Like, that's how I feel about myself. And that is amazing and so important. And if I can impart that on my kids, that you can go after any goal that you want, you just have to try, that is equally as important to me as spending as much time as possible with them.
Good for
So,
you.
no balance, but
Good for you.
I s yeah, thank you. I'm like, "We're trying, we're trying."
I'm with Queen Lisa and Queen Asia. Yes. Okay. So we've been in all three of us have been in our careers for a significant amount of time. Queen Asia, what advice would you have for someone who's just at the very beginning of exploring their relationship with their money and their emotions and they have no idea where to start?
Yeah, so, there's so many I'm, like, going through the list of different, like, activities and things I would say. So, I'm gonna tell you what, if you buy this book, you will start the process whether you wanted to or not, and it's just the truth. And it's gonna feel like I'm holding your hand, and you're gonna feel warm, and you're gonna have reflection, and you might shed some tears, you might have some aha moments, but I wrote a book specifically because I feel like you can do it in private, right? You can do it on your own time, at your own pace, without anybody having to bear witness to what you are going through as you are reading the book. So that step one. But if that feels like too much right now, what I would say is write a letter to money. And I learned this through a trauma of money course that I took. Write a dear money letter and just let the thoughts and feelings flow. And after that, allow yourself to wonder and ponder and reflect, hey, what came up for me? Is that something new? Has this been coming up? How did I feel about it? And that will kind of be a guide and a gauge for you to understand where you're at and what kind of work may need to be done for you. And if you need support, right, talk to people about it. So yeah, just starting by asking yourself, like, what do I do when I'm emotional? Do I spend money? What's going on there? What was my first money memory? What do I want in my life? What are my financial hopes and dreams? Am I looking at my money? Does money freak me out? You know?
Very interesting. I can't wait to read this book, by the way.
Me too.
So I really can't. Okay. So we have a question that we ask all of our guests. I think it's one of the most important questions that we'll ask each time. And here's the question. Why is the power of the ask crucial to women, especially financially?
I think you have to know what's going on. Financially, you have to know. So if that means that you are asking for more money, that you are asking to be involved in the money, if you're asking what's going on with the money, you have to know what's happening. And if you've taken a back seat until now it's time to start asking those questions. Now is the time to figure out, hey, I got to play catch up. I'm admitting it. I'm playing catch up. What's going on? Where are we at? Coworker, and I've asked my coworkers, I'm like, how much are you getting paid? Do you mind if we talk about money? What are you getting paid? And I will never forget this story. And this happened a long time ago. A coworker of mine, we talked about money. We were talking about student loan debt. Like we were very close. So it felt very comfortable for us to share. And she looked at me, she's like, Asia, I know you make more money than I do because I know you negotiated and I didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, this is what I make. And she's like, yep, that is more than I make because I didn't negotiate. And I was like, okay, good to know. You'll never not negotiate. Again, we do the same exact job. We have the same qualifications. Nothing is different, right? Personality, of course, but like I just asked. I literally just asked. And it took me some prep to ask. It took me talking to my mom about it and getting hyped up about it to then ask, but I did ask. So talk to your friends, ask them, ask your partner. You women have to know what's going on with the money. Bottom line, I don't care where it touches your life, but you have to know.
Good for you. Thank you so much, Asia. Thank you for this. Think everyone should go out and read your book. It sounds like they should put on their socks, get into their beds, read the book, and finish it with their socks on. And we really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Precious, who always shares something really about herself that is so important to all of our guests. So really, thank you both.
I mean, listen, this is the quality of the guests that we bring. It's Savvy Ladies Power of the Ass podcast. As you can see, better and better and better. Thank you, Queen Asia, for really uh, showcasing the power of the ask in real life, in your life, by being able to negotiate in your coworker, knowing that that is what made the difference. You showed the power of the ask in action. And so, keep coming back, everyone. The Power of the Ask podcast was created for you with you in mind. And when you start asking, you start getting. I'm so glad to be the co host with my queen, Lisa Zeiderman. And we want you to tell a friend to tell a friend to what? Tell a friend, watch, subscribe, and keep telling everyone about the Power of the Ask podcast, powered by Savvy Ladies. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Power of the Ass, ladies.
Don't forget to like, review, and subscribe to spread the love with hashtag Power of the Ass.